I remember a test question specifically that was, who discovered America? And I was like, Native Americans, because you can't discover something that was already inhabited. And they were like, you can change your answer. And I was like, no. Honestly, I get a lot of instructors who will contact us and myself specifically asking about how they should be teaching things and that they feel nervous about teaching something that they have no experience in. And who do you ask?
I always look to tell a person's story from their own perspective, and specifically with the Abenaki or with any Indigenous people, it's an oral tradition, which is beautiful and lovely, and it's a living culture and stories that evolve and change with each generation. But because it's not written, there are certain challenges in terms of accessing those resources.
Maybe there's divisions in the community. Maybe we haven't written down all of our story up until now.
So in our curriculum, there's not a mandate for Indigenous history, actually there's not a set curriculum in our school that outlines what we should teach in terms of Indigenous history. It's certainly encouraged that we include Indigenous history and really all perspectives when we teach any history and any studies, but our curriculum is really outlined around the transferable skills that are the graduation requirements for the state of Vermont and for our district. So I do understand that probably in the 1930s, perhaps it started earlier, that scientists were suggesting that we could breed a better crop of stronger, healthier, smarter, more virile, or just better Vermonters. So there were a lot of groups that were targeted in terms of forced sterilization and other measures, and that the Abenaki were among. Certainly not the only people who were impacted by that. People who were living in poverty, anybody who was seen to be less than, and that it's actually the same science that the Holocaust was based on.
It's important for students to understand both perspectives and both definitions, something often missed from textbooks. The perspective the textbook usually uses can be seen in the language. Watch for this. Did Christopher Columbus discover or invade America? What words are used to explain the takeover of another person's land? Manifest destiny, God-given right, eminent domain, purchased, admitted to the Union, acquired, claim, expansion, civilizing mission, by virtue of, or does the book interchange these words with words like took, stole, robbed, tricked, capitalism, murder, mass immigration, dominate, imperialism, unrighteousness, immoral, evilness? As you can see, the story can be told many different ways, not just what you see in the textbook.
My knowledge about the Abenaki largely comes from what I've learned from Abenaki people and Abenaki sources. And so it's not a complete understanding, but I certainly pursue those resources and try to learn as much as I can, understanding that I have an outsider's perspective.
As we've become aware that there's not one single story that reflects an experience, especially if we're looking at the past to inform present or future, that's what we want to share with our students. So we want to help them realize that a source is not the whole picture, and how do we recognize that if I hear this, this isn't the single story. I need to find out more. What are the other perspectives? What are the other sources saying, so that we don't just hold on to sound bites, but really look past just what's on the surface.
The absolute best resource to use is to reach out to the people themselves. Reach out to the communities, learn from us. If you want to incorporate our history, our ways of knowing into every other aspect of curriculum, not just history, we've made an impact on the world in many different ways. First, it's critical that people understand that we have something to offer. So, for instance, we've just, Fred Wiseman and a lot of the Indigenous community here have been working on a Seeds of Renewal project and bringing back heritage varieties of seeds. What a great way to talk about sustainability. Include people not just because they're Indigenous, but because they have something valuable. So if you're going to invite Indigenous people to come and celebrate them, don't just do drumming. Do something that brings out all that they are, that all they have that to offer of value, and that's many different ways. You know, we're multifaceted people with a living, breathing, beautiful culture. Reaffirm our own identity as being something we should be proud of. Yeah. And so for kids who are they have a very malleable sense of who they are, and they're developing that. And so it is critical the way that teachers are teaching about things.